It is still funny because of the timing, and a frequent visitor, along with Jim Fowler, is...
What if I told you there's a Tonight Show episode so controversial that NBC completely erased it from existence, leaving no trace it ever aired? Why did Wayne Newton storm into Johnny Carson's office and threaten to kick his ass in what nearly became a physical fight? And which Tonight Show legend is actually just an urban myth that never happened, despite millions believing they saw it? Tonight, we're uncovering the 14 most shocking and uncomfortable moments from The Tonight Show that producers desperately hoped we'd forget, moments so raw and scandalous that some were buried forever. Johnny Carson represented late-night television for decades, making America laugh every night with his charm, wit, and perfect timing. But behind the scenes, things weren't always so smooth. There were moments that shocked even his producers, awkward interviews, backstage feuds, jokes that went too far, and episodes that were quietly buried. Born on October 23, 1925 in Corning, Iowa, John William Carson would become the unchallenged king of late night. His journey began when he discovered a book about magic at age 12, leading him to purchase a magician's kit and perform as the Great Carson. His first paid performance was at the Norfolk Rotary Club when he was just 14 years old. During World War II, Carson served as a midshipman in the V-12 program, entertaining troops on the USS Pennsylvania with a ventriloquist dummy called Eddie, a precursor to his lasting ability to engage audiences. After graduating from the University of Nebraska in 1949 with a major in speech and drama, Carson's senior thesis was actually about how to write comedy jokes, showing his early grasp of comedic structure. Carson took over as host of The Tonight Show in 1962 and worked for 30 years, creating enduring personas like Karnak the Magnificent and Aunt Blabby. He received 6 Emmy Awards, a Peabody Award, the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1992, and was inducted into the Television Academy Hall of Fame in 1992-1987. But what made Carson's success even more remarkable was the darkness hiding behind his public persona. A man who struggled with 4 failed marriages, emotional distance, and personal tragedies that would haunt him throughout his career. Carson's charm lit up millions of living rooms, but his personal relationships were turbulent. His first marriage to Joan Jody Merrill Walcott produced 3 children, but success proved swift and savage. Their marriage collapsed in 1963, marked by what biographers described as boozy rows and cold silences. Tragically, their son Richard was fatally injured in a car crash in 1991, a loss Carson rarely discussed publicly, but which took a heavy toll on him. His second wife, Joanne Copeland, described Carson as emotionally remote, a description echoed by many who knew him. His third marriage to model Joanna Holland lasted until 1985, strained by Carson's extensive working hours and perfectionism. His fourth and final marriage was to Alexis Moss in 1987, which producer George Schlatter called the real love of Johnny's life. Carson himself once revealed his self-awareness, quipping, "If I had given as much to marriage as I gave to The Tonight Show, I'd probably have a hell of a marriage." According to his longtime lawyer Henry Bushkin, Carson could be gracious, funny, and generous one moment, and curt, aloof, and hard-hearted the next. Now here's where things get absolutely spine-chilling. There's one Tonight Show episode so deeply buried that it's become late-night television's greatest unsolved mystery, and what happened that night might be more disturbing than anyone imagined. According to the source material, this mysterious show aired once and then vanished completely. No reruns, no transcripts, no official listing, and no surviving footage. NBC never officially recognized it existed, which has only added to generations of speculation among media historians. Rumors suggest either a disastrous celebrity meltdown, a racist tirade, or a behind-the-scenes collapse that bled into the live program. Carson was reportedly so out of sorts that NBC executives scrambled to cancel the episode entirely, fearing reputational damage to the network. What makes this even more chilling is the complete silence that followed. While other embarrassing moments were cut or shelved discreetly, this show was erased from memory entirely. Joan Rivers and Johnny Carson weren't just colleagues, they were a late-night power duo. Carson had championed Rivers early in her career, telling her on air in 1965, "You're going to be a star." She became his permanent guest host, but in 1986, everything changed when Rivers accepted an offer from Fox Network to host her own show. Rivers didn't tell Carson until the deal was nearly signed, fearing it would fall through. When news broke publicly, she called Carson, and he hung up on her. They never spoke again. Carson didn't just cut contact. He banned her from The Tonight Show for life. Rivers didn't appear on the show again until 2014, nearly 50 years after her debut and long after Carson's death. But the Rivers incident was nothing compared to what happened when Wayne Newton decided he'd had enough of Carson's relentless mockery and marched into NBC demanding a face-to-face showdown that nearly turned violent. During the 1970s, Carson began nightly jokes about Newton's masculinity, suggesting he was effeminate or gay. The jokes were repeated nightly and eventually taken up by other comedians. After a year and a half of trying to reach Carson privately, Newton finally marched into NBC's Burbank offices, found Carson in a meeting with producer Fred Dordova, and demanded a moment alone. Newton told Carson, "Cut out all these jokes on me and they'll cut right out or I'll kick your ass." Carson, known for his icy personality, never apologized and never had Newton on the show again. Years later, Newton called Carson a mean-spirited human being and blamed Carson's influence for spreading vicious rumors about mob ties, leading to a libel lawsuit against NBC. On September 5, 1990, comedian Charles Grodin delivered what became the most cringe-inducing interview in late-night history. Halfway through the segment, Grodin challenged Carson with a devastating question. "Do you even care about your guests?" It wasn't asked playfully. It was a direct challenge that left Carson stunned and delivered a cold response, leaving the studio in uncomfortable silence. What started strange quickly escalated into an actual ego conflict, with audience members unsure whether to laugh or hold their breath. According to Splice Today, producers even considered cutting the segment from future reruns because they worried it destroyed The Tonight Show's carefully built veneer. Shelley Winters made late-night history in 1975 when British actor Oliver Reed began making sexist and salacious remarks about women. Winters, famous for her quick wit and zero tolerance for misogyny, grabbed her drink and threw it straight into Reed's face, leaving the audience gasping and Carson visibly disturbed. In another shocking moment, actress Raquel Welch stormed off stage mid-interview after Carson subjected her to what she perceived as condescending and belittling sarcastic remarks. The tension mounted quickly, and Welch walked out before the segment was over, leaving Carson visibly shaken. NBC refused to run the segment again, making it one of those rare Tonight Show moments that appeared only once and was then quietly buried. In the early 1970s, hundreds of Tonight Show tapes from the 1960s were mysteriously destroyed when a building manager ordered them taken to a dump and burned. Carson was reportedly furious, saying, "If I had only known it was a matter of storage space, I would have gladly paid the $1,000 a month for a warehouse down the street." The complete inventory of episodes Carson vetoed remains unknown, sealed in NBC's vault, or gone forever. What exists today is a carefully curated version of Carson's legacy, polished, iconic, and edited to preserve the exact image he wanted the world to remember. These shocking moments reveal that even television's most polished professionals had their breaking points, and sometimes the most memorable moments were the ones they desperately tried to forget. Johnny Carson may have been the king of late night, but his kingdom had cracks that producers worked tirelessly to hide from the public eye.